This is a presentation of Northeast Streaming Sports.
It just might be the greatest sports franchise in the history of sports. A place where legends are made, and there's always something to talk about. Get ready to immerse yourself in pinstripes. Start spreading the news, hosted by Paul Semendinger and E.J. Fagan, a couple of doctors with a prescription for Yankee fever. And now, here's Dr. Paul Semendinger and Dr. E.J. Fagan. Get ready to start spreading the news.
All right, my friends, welcome to Monday night, the Start Spreading the News Yankees show. I am Dr. Paul Semendinger, and my partner, Dr. E.J. Fagan from Chicago. I'm in New Jersey. Dr. E.J. is sick tonight. So I am going to be flying alone this evening, the second week in a row that I'm flying alone here on the Start Spreading the News Yankee podcast. Now, because I'm flying solo, I decided to pre-record this episode. It's much easier to do a podcast in the afternoon or evening than at 9 p.m. So this week we are pre-recorded. So let's begin. Let's make today a great day. How can you make your day great? It's simple. Look around, notice the good, and then perpetuate the good by spreading that goodness forward. Appreciate everything good in your life, and then don't be greedy. Share that goodness. And if by some chance you say there's no good in my life, well, then there is an answer. Make some good. Do something nice for someone else. And then there's good in your life. And then you can appreciate that good. And then you can spread that good to even more people. Remember, when we give love, it comes back to us in greater amounts than we ever gave. Also, just a reminder that this program is brought to you by Artemisia Publishing. Artemisia is a traditional publisher located in the United States of America. And they have published many, many, many great books, including a host of books written by me. One of them, of course, is The Least Among Them. This is the story of the 29 players whose entire baseball career was just one game played for the Yankees. They published From Compton to the Bronx, Roy White's autobiography that he wrote with me. They published my wonderful book of motivational stories. It's actually an entire story. It's one story that's designed to motivate. 365.2, Going the Distance. Even when you don't think you can, you often can. And of course, my award-winning novel, Scattering the Ashes. It's also an audiobook narrated by me. So take a look at those books and all of the many books at Artemisia Publishing. That's apbooks.net. And of course, this program is part of the Start Spreading the News empire, if you will. This, of course, also gets published on the site Start Spreading the News, which is my Yankees site. We put up fresh new articles every day at 6 a.m., 10 a.m., and 2 p.m. And then when there's a game, we have a game thread where people can make comments during the game. After the game, we have a quick hit, which tells you the score, and then we do it all again the next day. We have been doing this every single day, except for maybe 5 days in total, since October 2017. Nobody puts out this kind of free Yankees content this often, this well, for this long, for free. Nothing on Start Spreading the News is behind a paywall. All right, my friends, so let's talk a little Yankees. When I did the Dr. Sem Yankee show for Saturday, just 2 short days ago, I made the point that the Yankees are on a roll. I recorded that on Friday before the Red Sox series began, and then the Yankees dropped 2 out of 3 to the Red Sox. Now, that is following the Yankees the previous weekend losing 2 out of 3 games to the Los Angeles Dodgers. So after winning a host of series in a row, the Yankees have now lost 2 series in a row, 2 series over consecutive weekends. And this is what's causing some consternation among Yankee fans, and it's creating some dialogue on the Start Spreading the News Yankee site. And these are really the main points. And let's take them apart one by one, dissect them, and I'll discuss them with you. You can, of course, go on to the blog, be one of the 4+ million or 5+ million who have visited the site, or that's how many page views we've had. Not quite sure how that all works. But go on the site and make comments there in the articles, or you can put the articles on wherever this is streaming, etc. But here we go. Here's the one thought. Here we go again. For the last many years, or at least most of the last many years, or at least the last few years, we've seen a pattern with this Yankee team. They start off doing pretty well. They seem to be something special. And then June hits. And all of a sudden, all of that goodness goes away. All of the good work that the Yankees seem to be doing goes away. They lose. Then they lose some more. And then they lose some more. One of our writers, Tim Cable, has given a name to this, the Boone Swoon. And part of the reason why the Yankees seem to lose is that the manager, Aaron Boone, doesn't seem to have an answer. So one of the lines of thinking as the Yankee fans are looking at the team, they look at how they did through May. We've been here before. They look at them losing consecutive weekends. We've been here before. And it just happens to be June. And here we go again. So I commented on an article earlier today on Monday that there are Yankee fans that feel like we've been here before. How many times do we have to watch this nonsense over and over and over? Because when they start losing, and this is the problem, when they start losing, they don't seem to have an answer for that. They just say, well, we're going to go get them. We're going to go out there and get them. It's going to be something we're going to go get. It's right there in front of us. We were close. Aaron Boone can watch a player go 0 for 400 million, have a batting average of 0 since 1907, and say, but he's getting closer. I mean, I really like the way his swing is. It's coming around. He's making some good contact. And you just say to yourself, like, how disconnected from reality is this? Or why is he insulting our intelligence? Why does the manager say stuff that to our eyes we see that he's either unable to see or he's not being honest? Or both. I don't know. But I can't listen to the manager when he says, yeah, we're right there as the Yankees play 500 ball for month after month or worse. And there's never anything of substance uttered. It's always just platitudes. You know, I was just talking to a longtime Yankee fan, a good friend of mine. We just had dinner. And I was mentioning this to him about Aaron Boone. And he said, well, I don't think anybody listens to him anymore. I don't even know why they put him on the pregame or the postgame or anything, because he's never said anything. And I thought, I know other people have said that. I know I have said that, but that's a whole different giant audience of people, big Yankee fans for their lifetimes, who are saying that. And then you have to wonder, is it that Aaron Boone doesn't have a clue? Is it that he's just saying nonsense to insult us? Or because he knows it doesn't matter? Or, as some people believe, have the Yankees told him, just don't say anything? And you have to look at any of those scenarios and say, well, they're all a bad look. If the manager doesn't know, that's a bad look. If the manager is saying nonsense on purpose, that's a bad look. If the manager is saying nonsense to insult the fan base because he doesn't think the fan base knows any better, that's a bad look. And if it's the Yankee upper management telling the manager to not say anything, that's a bad look. Wouldn't you rather, if you ran a baseball team, put out a manager who seems articulate and smart and would have answers to the various questions, answers of substance, instead of, it's right there in front of us, we're going to go get them, we battled today, the game just got away from us, and words that mean nothing. You know, a long time ago, there was a movie called Bull Durham. And Kevin Costner plays the old veteran in the minor leagues. Most of everybody's seen the movie. If you haven't, I highly recommend it. But he's talking to the young hotshot prospect who just got the call to the major leagues. And they're on the bus, as I recall the scene, and he's teaching the young hotshot prospect of what to say in the interviews with the media. And that's what he's teaching him. Aaron Judge has done this for his career for the most part. Derek Jeter did it for his career for the most part. It's saying nothing. Well, how do you feel? You went 0 for 4, but the team won. Yeah, listen, my stats don't matter. As long as the team wins, we're all in it together. It's a team effort. I'm proud of my teammates. I'm glad they picked me up. You go 4 for 4 and your team loses. How do you feel? You just hit for the cycle and you had 7 RBIs. Yeah, you know, I don't look at my personal stats. It's nice at the end of the year if you have good numbers, but if we're not winning, none of it matters. I'd rather go 0 for 4 and win than go 4 for 4 and lose. And we lost today. And so I went 4 for 4. That's great, I guess, but I'm not happy about it. And I'll never be happy with the performance if we lose. I mean, they're just platitudes, right? That's all they're saying is platitudes. But that movie was made in the 1980s. So you would think that everybody is aware of the platitudes of, all right, yeah. So why are we then asking questions of people on sports teams only to have them regurgitate the same nonsense back? So that's one of the concerns with the Yankees since they've lost the last 2 weekend series. Are we heading to a situation where we're going to have a long, miserable summer where the Yankees play 500 ball or worse, or slightly better, but basically 500 ball for months on end and see their big-ish lead. I think they were up by 5.5 or 6.5. Their big-ish lead here dwindle away and it becomes a tight pennant race. That's one concern because that's not fun. Another line of thinking is the Yankees have a nice lead. They can back off a little bit. They can rest their players a little bit. I get it, but I don't buy it. And if that's their approach, I don't like it. I don't buy it in that I don't think baseball players or managers or organizations purposely put out bad lineups or don't try that they don't want to be their best. I mean, that makes no sense. These are professionals. As you know, I still play baseball. It's a 30 and over wood bat baseball league. We play every Sunday. I pitch. And my goodness, I'm 56 years old. I'm going to be 57. I know the games don't matter. But I darn well want to win. If I throw a ball, I mean, I don't walk guys. I very rarely do I walk guys. If I throw a ball, I'm disappointed with myself, except if I'm trying to get a batter to chase. But if I'm trying to throw a strike and I miss, like, darn, you got to be better than that. Come on, you are better than that. Let's go. So, and everybody on my team, and we have fun. We really deep down don't care if we win or lose. We want to win, believe me. But if we lose, there's nobody carrying on or breaking things. People have jobs the next day. They have things they have to do. The losses don't stick with us. We don't own them and have miserable days and miserable nights or miserable weeks because we lost. But there's something about being an athlete that makes you want to win. And when you're out there, you're doing your best. So I can't imagine the players aren't doing their best. So if the Yankees, the methods of the Yankee approach is to purposely not put the players in the best position to win, to rest them and to plan for the postseason or whatever, I think that's a bad approach. I think it's a bad approach to watch a lead in the American League East slowly dwindle and put home field advantage in the playoffs or whatever at risk because you're always playing for tomorrow. I think that's a bad approach, and it's not fun to watch. It's not fun to watch a team stagger for weeks or months on end as they've been doing. Another line of thinking is, this idea that the Yankees should only be playing to win the World Series is a faulty logic. That shouldn't be what you should be hoping for as a fan. As a fan, you should be appreciating every game, enjoying watching the players, enjoying the sport, the give and take. Just have fun watching the Yankees. And I get it. I mean, why would you want to root for a team and watch baseball all summer long if you're just going to be frustrated? Yeah, so I get that line of thinking. Just enjoy it. I get it. I don't buy it. Not as a Yankee fan. If I were a Pittsburgh Pirates fan, I'd have that approach. I'm not a big football fan, but in my heart, I'm a Jets fan. The Jets are not winning the Super Bowl, but I would put the football game on, and I will put the football games on this fall and watch the Jets. At least I will if they're not terrible. If they're terrible, I don't watch. That's just not fun at all. But if they're possibly winning, possibly losing, they might have a chance to make the playoffs, and it's a somewhat interesting football season. Sure, I'll put the Jets on en route and just enjoy the games and enjoy the process, because the goal for the Jets is not to win the Super Bowl, because they don't win Super Bowls. They don't even get to Super Bowls. And the same is true for the Pittsburgh Pirates and the Cleveland Guardians and the Kansas City Royals and the San Diego Padres and virtually every team in the major leagues, except the Dodgers and except the Yankees. Those are the two premier franchises. And of course, the Yankees are the number one premier franchise. The most valuable team in the sport, who has a history of winning World Series. If you're a Yankee fan, or if you're a Yankee player, or if you're a Yankee executive, or if you're the owner of the Yankees, for the Yankees, second best isn't good enough. It's just not. Now, you know, I'm a marathon runner. Well, retired now. I ran my last marathon in January. That was my 27th. It was the last leg of the Dopey Challenge. I ran 48.6 miles in Disney World over 4 days, a 5K followed by a 10K, followed by a half marathon, followed by the full marathon on 4 consecutive days. And as I ran that full marathon, I've told this story before, but I knew it going in that was going to be my last one. Now, when I run a marathon, I run to run my best race. But I know I'm not going to win. I'm not that kind of a runner. You know, I was just over 5 hours in Disney, but again, that's the fourth race over 4 days, early in the morning in Disney World. It was freezing cold. It's in January. That was the only time I've ever been over 5 hours. I don't remember the exact time. Maybe I'm blocking it out, but I was like 5:05, 5:03. I'm a little disappointed that on my last race, I went over 5 hours. But again, that's a different type of marathon after running the previous days. But all my other races, I averaged about 4:34 for the 26.2 miles. And I'm happy with that because that was the best I could do. So if you're a fan of me, you wouldn't be, but if you were and I was your favorite marathon runner, you wouldn't root for me to win the New York City Marathon because I won't win. And I can't. Well, I don't run them anymore, but I couldn't win the New York City Marathon. I'm not running a race in just over 2 hours. I can still run a half marathon in just about 2 hours or under 2 hours. I can still do that. I can't run a full marathon in that time. No, I cannot. Never have. Never will. So if you're rooting for me and you say, you know what? I just want to see that guy go out there and do his best. Yeah, enjoy it. Enjoy if there was footage of me running the race. Enjoy watching me compete against myself, but watching me compete to complete this terrific physical endeavor. Yeah, that's the Pirates. I'm the Pittsburgh Pirates. Watch them compete. Go see what they can do. Have fun with it. Let's see what happens. They might have a great race. They might do real well this year. Or they might not. But they're competing. They're giving it their best. They are not the best. They're not supposed to win. But if you're a fan of the Yankees, that's not what you're rooting for. Oh, I hope the Yankees just compete. I hope they give their best. No. The Yankees are one of the rare teams, the Dodgers, I'd say the Kansas City Chiefs in football. They're one of the rare teams that you're saying, oh, no. They need to go to the championship game and win. The Yankees have the resources to win. So if this was when Meb Keflevsky was at his peak and you're watching the marathon, you want to see Meb Keflevsky win the marathon. That's what you're tuning in to watch. One of the best runners, you want to see if he can do it. And if he does, well, you say he did it. I can't believe it. The guy I'm rooting for actually won the thing. That's awesome. But you're not rooting for Meb Keflezighi to run, like me, a 4.5-hour marathon. If you were rooting for him and that's what he did, you'd be like, I'm so disappointed in how he did. Right? The expectations have to be based around the team or the individual competing. So let's make it even crazier. My best marathon was 3:25:16 in Chicago, all the way back in 2006. It was a long time ago. Now it's like, almost 20 years ago when I ran a very fast race in Chicago. It was awesome. It was the best. I cannot do any better than that. Well, I won't now again because I'm retired from marathons. Not retired from running because I don't believe in ever stopping. But at my age, I realized that I don't need to be running 26.2 miles early in the morning on a November morning, the first Sunday in November. I don't need that anymore. I love the New York City Marathon. I'm still going to volunteer at the New York City Marathon, but I don't need to put my body through all of that anymore. I've done 27 marathons. That's more than enough. So the best I ever did was 3:25. The winners are usually around 2 hours and 8 minutes, 2:10, 2:05, depending on the situation or whatever. So let's just say it's 2:10. 2 hours and 10 minutes, this race, for whatever reason, that's what the winner is. And remember that I've never run better than 3:25:16, but I've never run better than 3:25. So let's say it's a marathon. Me against Meb. And now Meb's not competing anymore either, but both of us in our prime. And somehow I go out there and I run 25 minutes faster, 26 minutes faster. Let's make me break 3 hours. 2:58. I run a 2:58 marathon. I run a sub 3 hour marathon. That would be absurd. I'd run a minute faster for every single of the 26.2 miles, and I run a 2:58. Everybody would say, holy cow, there'd be celebrations if people were rooting for me because I would have defied the craziest expectations. I can't run that fast. I couldn't run that fast. I've never run a race that fast. It would be absurd. It would be celebratory. Now, in the exact same race, Meb Keflezighi runs a 2:58. We tie. We start on the line. We run the entire race together, step by step. We finish at the exact same moment, and he runs a 2:58. You'd say, that was so disappointing. Meb's got to be better than that. He's 48 minutes after the other guy who won the race. I guess there's a third guy in the race who ran and wins the race at 2:10, which is kind of slow for a marathon runner. You'd say, that wasn't good enough. So, again, I'm the Pittsburgh Pirates. If I do that, if the Pirates compete, that's good enough. If a world-class marathoner is only out there to compete, we'll get what we get. We won't get upset. It's still a nice race. It's kind of fast, very fast, compared to the average running guy. Sure. Meb's the Yankees. Good enough isn't good enough. Not when you're the most valuable team in the sport. Not when your whole business model is greatness. We are the Yankees. No one has won as many World Series as us. So I don't buy that, just enjoy each game and we'll see what happens. Have fun this summer watching the Yankees. No. If I were a fan of the Pirates or the Royals or the Tampa Bay Rays or whomever, then you go, yeah, maybe. It's just fun to watch baseball. But if you're a Yankee fan, you want them to win. It's about winning with the Yankees. And then people have, and I've talked about this many times, one last marathon comparison. They say a Major League Baseball race is a marathon, not a sprint. You have to pace yourself. You can't go all out the whole race. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint. Well, my dear friends, I challenge you to go online and find out what the mile times are for people who win marathons. And I almost can guarantee that most of the people who ever hear this show, the vast majority, have never run 1 mile as fast as the winner ran all 26.2 miles. What are they, about 5-minute miles? Or they're running sub 5-minute miles? If you're running sub 5-minute miles, I'm sorry, that's a sprint. I mean, what are you thinking? And you're running that fast. You're not jogging. You are running, and you are running fast, and you are running hard for those 2 hours. That's not a marathon is a sprint. Go run one, see what it is. Even if you're a 5-hour marathoner, if you're pushing your body as fast as it can go, it's a sprint. You're pushing as hard as you can. I used to say that I have a tougher time running a marathon than any of the winners, the elite runners. My goodness, they're done in 2 hours. I defy them to run 4.5. See what it's like. It's tougher to be slow because the distance doesn't change. You're just working longer. But it's not that you're working less hard. You're giving it all you have. Maybe you're walking. The elite guys aren't walking, but you're walking only because you have nothing left in the tank because you've been out there for 4.5 hours. So you need to walk through the water stops or in between water stops because you have to regroup because your body is literally falling apart around you as you're striving to get to the finish. But this idea that baseball, you can just take it easy. You don't have to win every game. You don't have to try to win every game. Just take it easy and enjoy it. Well, the winning teams don't take it easy and enjoy it. And if that is the Yankees strategy, it's a bad strategy. So they lost 2 weekends in a row, 2 out of 3. It is not time for the Yankees or the Yankee fans to press the panic button. No, it's not. Anything can happen in any series. And losing 2 out of 3 series in 2 consecutive weekends or 2 series in a row on 2 consecutive weekends, losing 2 out of 3 games when you have a nice lead and you are on such a great roll, it's not a big deal. But the concern is that this is what happens year after year with the Yankees. And if that's the case, and we're going to have another long summer of them losing, that's a problem. And I think I just explained all the reasons why a summer of mediocre baseball for the Yankees, I would say the same if I was a Dodger fan, is just not fun. The Dodgers are all in. The Yankees are supposed to be all in. Though I will argue that you're not truly all in if you look at third base this year and you say, we don't really have a major league third baseman. Good enough. We'll figure it out. That's not going all in. But the Yankees, for the most part, are pretty much all in. So there we are. Quick note, Trent Grisham is not hitting. He hasn't basically hit well for over a month now. He hasn't really hit for years. And yet the Yankees keep playing him every day because when he started the season, he started hot. And this is also one of the concerns Yankee fans have, is there just seem to be disconnected to reality. Trent Grisham didn't hit in 2023. He didn't hit in 2024. He got off to a quick start in 2025, but the odds are he's going to be at the end of the year the same hitter he was. So why do they keep playing him every day? You're not going to take Judge out of the lineup. You're not going to take Bellinger out of the lineup. You're not going to take Goldschmidt out of the lineup. You shouldn't be taking Ben Rice out of the lineup. And you shouldn't be taking Jason Dominguez out of the lineup. If Dominguez and Rice are the ones you're going to split time with, okay. But in no world should Trent Grisham get a starting nod over any of those guys. Goldschmidt and Rice at DH. Or Dominguez in the outfield. Jason Dominguez supposedly has a future. Trent Grisham does not. So we've seen now that it's been a long time that he's not really hitting. So let's not make him a starter on this team, and let's give those reps to Jason Dominguez. Dominguez in left, Bellinger in center, Judge in right. Now, maybe sometimes you say, let's give Judge a day off every 5 days or every 6 days or whatever and let him DH. Okay, then Grisham plays. But right now, Grisham is playing at the expense of Jason Dominguez. And for me, that just makes no sense. All right, we had one other comment on the blog I wanted to address briefly. I have to type in a name here and then another name. But this has been a concern. I've talked about this before. People talk about the idea of a Mount Rushmore for the greatest four quarterbacks in the history of the NFL, the Mount Rushmore of the four greatest basketball players in NBA history, the four greatest presidents, or the four greatest books. The Mount Rushmore, meaning the four best. And throughout Yankee history, the idea is that the four greatest Yankees are Ruth, Gehrig, DiMaggio, Mantle. Now, until the day of the modern statistic, that was the rank order. The greatest Yankee of all time, no doubt, was Babe Ruth. The next greatest Yankee of all time, no doubt, Lou Gehrig. The next greatest Yankee of all time, no doubt, nobody questioned it, Joe DiMaggio. And the next greatest Yankee of all time, Mickey Mantle. With the advent of looking at baseball statistics differently, and with the advent of WAR, wins above replacement, it's now really become Ruth, Gehrig, Mantle, DiMaggio. If you had said in the 80s or probably through the 90s that Mantle was a better player than DiMaggio, people would have laughed at you. They said that's just ridiculous. Today, it's widely accepted that Mantle was better than DiMaggio. And my concern as a Yankee fan who loves Yankee history is if you're going to rank those top four, there's a guy, the fifth guy, who's knocking on the door, Aaron Judge. And if Aaron Judge is going to ascend at the end of his career to one of those top four spots, I'm worried that he would knock off Joe DiMaggio. So Aaron Judge to date has played, pulling it up right here, 10 seasons. Joe DiMaggio's career wasn't much longer. He played 13. Aaron Judge has had some seasons much better. Aaron Judge has 2 seasons, whereas WAR was 10.8. Joe DiMaggio's best seasons, his WAR was only in the 8s, 8.4, 8.3. Joe DiMaggio's lifetime stats, 325 batting average. At this point, Aaron Judge's lifetime batting average, 295. I know people don't look a lot at batting average. Joe DiMaggio hit 361 home runs. Aaron Judge is at 338. It's conceivable that within a year, Aaron Judge will pass Joe DiMaggio in home runs in fewer seasons. Joe DiMaggio, 1,500 RBIs, really 1,537. Aaron Judge, a lot fewer. He's only about half, 771. Aaron Judge has accumulated 57.8 WAR. Joe DiMaggio 79.1. It's highly likely that when his career is over, Judge will have more WAR. It's not likely that he'll have a high enough batting average to compete with DiMaggio. It is very likely that he'll well surpass him in home runs. RBIs looks like at this point it's a toss-up because Judge is so far off. OPS plus, which is in your numbers compared to the rest of the league at that time, Judge 178, DiMaggio 155. So you could argue that Judge, relative to his peers and the game he's playing, is the better player. And there's just something in the argument that I think is missing. Number one, Joe DiMaggio missed 3 seasons, 1943, 1944, and 1945, right in the heart of his career to serve in the military. The previous 4 seasons, let's go his whole career. He hit 323, 346, 324, 381, 352, 357, then 305. Okay. And then he went off to war. And then he hit 290, 315, 320, 346, 301, and 263. And then it was over. But he lost 3 years to serve our country in World War II. Right in the heart of his career. And it seems clear that he wasn't quite, still very good, but he wasn't quite the same player after the war. Aaron Judge has never done that. Aaron Judge isn't going to lose any years, let's hope, to a war. So those war years, no matter what you want to say, impacted on Joe DiMaggio's lifetime numbers. I don't think that can be denied. And so when you look at the numbers, yeah, all right, Judge is going to pass him in certain areas, but that doesn't mean he was necessarily a better player. Joe DiMaggio also was, I believe, and again, I never saw DiMaggio play. I can only talk as a baseball historian, someone who's followed the game for 50 years and has read a gazillion books about the game and a million articles in magazines, newspapers, pamphlets, displays at museums, has watched a gazillion games, listened to a gazillion experts, was that DiMaggio in his era was bigger than life. He was baseball. He represented the sport in a way that I don't know if there's a player today we can even compare to Joe DiMaggio. And I think because of that, there are some intangibles about DiMaggio's career that we just can't understand. When Ernest Hemingway wrote The Old Man and the Sea, and he's thinking that the fisherman needs to be talking about a baseball player, he writes about the great DiMaggio because that meant something. There's something about the great DiMaggio that, as great as Aaron Judge is, I don't think you can ever compare to. Joe DiMaggio, like Babe Ruth, like Jackie Robinson, is one of those rare individuals who's greater than the sum total of whatever his numbers are. Because he's reached that level of mythological figure. Though he's real, and everything he did was real, and even that myth, whatever you want to call it, isn't really a myth because it's real, because DiMaggio did it. 13 years, I believe he went to 10 World Series, and I believe the Yankees won 9 of them. I think those are the numbers. I'm not going to look them up because I'm looking at the time, and we're running short already. Judge doesn't have that kind of number. He has 0 World Series so far. But that myth of Joe DiMaggio, which is really the truth, It's how great he was is something that cannot be quantified statistically. And I think as we get further and further and further away from certain historical events and certain historical figures and certain baseball players, we tend to then just go to the stats. And if Aaron Judge can accumulate more WAR and more home runs and a higher OPS plus than Joe DiMaggio, I think the answer is going to be, well, he's better than Joe D. And so if you have to look at the Yankee Mount Rushmore, DiMaggio is off and Aaron Judge is on. As an Aaron Judge fan, I'd be happy for Aaron Judge. But I think somehow if that happens, we're not looking at the true Joe DiMaggio and what he represented to the Italian-American community, how he helped change the perception of the Italian-American community by being a dignified, outstanding athlete who broke down some racial prejudices that people had about Italian-Americans and Italians in general. How he was bigger than the sport, how he was this ginormous legend of the game. And I think a lot of those things get lost over time. And we just look at the numbers. And if we just look at the numbers, I think we do a disservice to the whole person, their whole history. I think in a way, differently, the same is true about Don Mattingly. Us who saw him play every day and watched him, saw how great he was, yet his numbers don't quite compare. And there's an argument that he doesn't belong in the Hall of Fame, which I can understand and often agree with, though I think it's time to put him in. But Mattingly was bigger than his numbers. Fans of the 80s will understand what I'm saying. He was so great. He was bigger than his numbers. Joe DiMaggio, his numbers, his personality, his impact on the game and society is greater than the numbers. And I just hope that's not lost, because you can still take all of that into account as well, including the bigger ballpark, much harder to hit a home run in the old Yankee Stadium, all the championships, the 56-game hitting streak, and all of that. And that's an important part of the whole DiMaggio story. And you can take all of that, and if you put it all together, you might say, even though Mantle's numbers are better than DiMaggio's in most categories, as Judge's probably will be as well, except both for lifetime batting average, I would assume. You could argue that DiMaggio is still the third greatest Yankee ever, that he's better than Mantle. You can't prove it statistically, really. But on the impact of the game, you might be able to, though Mickey Mantle, in his own way, for 2 decades, was bigger than the game. So it's harder in that regard to make the argument for DiMaggio over Mantle. But I think you can. I think there's a legitimate argument there, a legitimate discussion. I don't think Judge is in any way, shape, or form, because we're so distracted. There's so much media. There's so many other things that are out there that I don't know how many athletes can transcend a sport and society the way DiMaggio did. I don't think Aaron Judge is doing that, as great as he is. And so it's hard to then discount or truly understand the impact DiMaggio had. And I just think it would be a shame if somehow over time, Joe DiMaggio and what he meant to the Yankees and so much, his impact on America through the 40s, late 30s, through the 40s, into the very early 1950s, and even after, because he remained an icon of the game. I don't think that can just be wiped aside or forgotten. And it would be a shame if it was. Be a shame if some of DiMaggio's great legacy gets forgotten and people say, well, the guy who was the better WAR, and I'm a fan of WAR, but the guy who was the greater OPS plus, and I'm a fan of OPS plus, or the guy who had more home runs, and I'm a fan of home runs, somehow is considered the greater player. I don't know if he is, because DiMaggio, even if his numbers weren't quite as good, was still a tremendous player, let alone the fact that he played center field, which is a harder position than right field, which is where Judge, except for last year, spent the majority of his career. But that's a whole nother argument. We're now getting up against our break time. The hour is getting to the 50 some odd minutes we're in. So I'm going to wrap it up here. Tell me what you think. Am I crazy for saying if the Yankees just play 500 ball going forward, that it's a disappointment based upon the start, that a boon swoon is something to be frustrated about? Tell me I'm wrong about Aaron Judge and Joe DiMaggio. Tell me I'm wrong about Mickey Mantle and Joe DiMaggio. Have fun with it. I'll see it in the comments. If you decide to make a comment, thank you for watching. As always, it has been my pleasure. Go out and be kind. Do nice things. Appreciate the greatness and the beauty of this world that is around you. Give love. It will come back to you in greater amounts than you ever gave. Have a great day. I will see you again Saturday morning, 7 a.m. for the Dr. Sem Yankee Show. Let's go, Yankees.